So, when am I the most effective at manifestations, if you will? And it's a pretty simple thing, really. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the step one, the step two, and the step three. And that is knowing what you don't want, figuring out what you do want. That's step one. Step two is creating the imaginary scene of what it would look like when you have it. And then step three, the most important thing, is getting out of the way, allowing it. So that's what we're going to talk about here for the next few minutes. I'm not going to make this very long. So step one is very important. And it's not something that we really necessarily are asking for. In other words, we're not asking for contrast. Contrast is going to show up. It just does. There's always two vibrational options or choices to be made when we're moving through life and we're creating the life that we want. So we're always given options, and that's the best way to look at it. So if you're looking out there and you've asked for something, but something completely different shows up, that doesn't mean that what you have asked for isn't there, because it is there. It's always there. Everything is always there. It is just what it is that we're looking at this particular moment, what perspective we're taking. And so we're going to see the contrast, and we may or may not react to that contrast. Understand? So we may react negatively and say, oh my God, there it is again. How come that's showing up? and create the fear, and it flashes out there, and it's creating the next opportunity to reflect that back to us. So we want to monitor that response, if you will, carefully. We really want to watch that. So the thing that shows up that we don't want, we just want to say, oh, okay. We don't need to get all tied up into it emotionally. We can just say, look, oh, there it is, move on. But what was it that I asked for? What is it that I want? And so just quickly flip over to the scene that you had already created in your mind to that which you want. So there. And that is really the step one mechanism. And that is asking. And we're doing this every day. And all I'm saying is watch how you react. We've heard over and over, life is 90% how we react to it and 10% what happens to us. It is all about the reaction, because that's what is going to add the energy from us to that event, set of circumstances that will give it the energy to show back up again. If we suck that energy, well, I can't say suck it, because if we already gave it, then it's already there. But if we just don't put that energy out to begin with, then it will dissipate on its own over time. It's going to come back as a reflection, some, but it will diminish over time, because the earth and this reality that we call reality has a mechanism in it that is a repetitive mechanism. So things are going to automatically, as part of the structure of this reality, to come back over and over again. So we kind of have to break free of that kind of gravitational pull by being aware of how we react. because that's necessary to keep the continuity of the illusion alive. If it wasn't there, it would all break down, and we would not have the life experience and the singular timeline experience that we're having now. Okay, so that was step one. Step two is creating. In other words, step two is really more what the universe does. The universe is already created and created whatever it is we want because it's there. I mentioned earlier, it's there. It's already there. It may be hidden behind that contrast from our perspective. So we just need to work our way through that contrast to get to what the universe has already created. So we've asked for it, it's been given. That's all there is to it. That's step two. Now, step three, perhaps, is the most important part of it. In my opinion, step one, and not reacting to the negative, is essential to being able to create what you want. So once you get that down, now you have to learn to allow. And then the allowing is getting out of the way. So my most effective manifestations have been whimsical thoughts, if you will, and I'll call them that. I mean, sometimes they've been very deliberate, very specific. So, I talk sometimes about the socks, and I do that because I just said, hey, I like some, more, I need more black socks. And before long, I had a ton of black socks. Did I go buy them? No, I didn't do anything except for someone came along and said, hey, do you want these black socks? I said, I don't know. Tell me about them. Well, they're brand new. They're this size, which happened to be my size. There are all kinds of varieties. I said, yeah, I do want those. I asked for those. I didn't necessarily say that because they wouldn't understand, because I didn't call them up and say, hey, would you bring me some black socks? But I did call them up on an etheric level, the etheric internet, as I call it. So I typed in my request etherically, which is I imagined it, and then I saw myself with a whole bunch of black socks. Now I've got some requests for some shoes right now, and I'm not going to talk anymore. Well, I'll just tell you what they are, but I'm not saying send me shoes because the universe will take care of it. I'm not really worried about it. So I've asked for some tennis shoes. I want some high tops and some regular tennis shoes, a pair of black high and a pair of black regular lows, and a pair of white high tops and some low ones. And then I want some dress shoes. And I've got some very specific things about those that I want. And 2 pair of each. In other words, I don't want 2 white ones, but I do want a black and a white low and a black and a white high top tennis shoes, for example, and then 2 pair of the dress shoes that are different. But so that's out there. And do I care if I get them? Honestly, not really. I just don't care. And that's critical. If I don't care, then I'm not really looking around the corner for them. I'm not looking around here. Where are my shoes? I'm not doing that. I'm not wondering where they are, because if I start to do that, then I'm noticing that they're not here, and I have defeated the purpose, because now I'm putting out a negative vibration, which is they're not here, and that's what I'm going to get, So I'm not really doing any of that. Now, the thing that really will trip us up, the things that we really want, we'll do that with. And I do that. I perfectly, and I'm willing to admit that. If I'm asking for something really huge and it's very kind of important for me, and I think I have deadlines around it and all this other stuff, then I'm going to say, where is it? Now, we create the deadlines. As I just did a pretty long video on the game, and that we're not only in a game, we're not only learning how to play the game, but we are the game. We're the whole thing. We're everything. We're the person playing the game. We're the game itself. We're the rules of the game. We're the scenery. We're the producer, director. We're the financier. We're everything. We create the plots, the stories. We create the beliefs here that project out there. And we create the individual scenery and the antagonists and the protagonists. And sometimes we're one and sometimes we're the other. But when we realize that we're not only the rules in the game and the producer, but we're also the game itself, then we enter that state of knowing, and that's that video I just did. So the part of that knowing is that it's a very intricate set of controls. These are not lightweight controls. These are master controls that you need to learn, that I need to learn, that I need to master at becoming the best that I can at this game. And being the best is realizing that these controls are very precise. And so if we go down this way and then all of a sudden we say, I want this, and then we start saying, well, where is it? Then we've turned our joystick, if you will, off the track of what it is we want. So the realization in that is, I think, pretty significant. So that's the 3 steps, the same 3 steps, perhaps with a little bit different perspective and a little more clarity. And so subscribe, hit the bell, do all those things, and you'll get notifications that I have new stuff coming out, and you'll be glad you did that.